Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us to start off this week in September. It is Monday the 8th at 8:05. Here we are in the Wave Now studio. I'm actually going to do a little bit of a magic trick because as I was helping set things up for our Wave News reporter, Logan Perrone, I don't know if you also noticed some of the graphics because we are in the Wave Now studio, but when it comes time to set up for Wave News Extra, got to have it there.
Is that new?
It is the dusk setting, yes. So happy you're joining us all tonight as we kind of unpack not just the stories that we're staying on top of and developing and getting that information to you like we are right now and going to have it on at 11 o'clock, but also some of the bigger headlines and updates and breaking news from earlier in the morning and the afternoon. Let's get right to it since we have our Logan Perrone in studio. And Logan, as I'm setting up some more of this video, needless to say, I think in one of these conversations of kitchen table issues, and folks do care about what might happen to their electric bills and their power bills if and when a utility is making a proposal or a pitch to, if you're in Kentucky, in this case, the Public Service Commission, and you were there at a meeting where, again, that was the main point of conversation. There was people in the audience, of course, wanted to have their perspectives heard, but walk us through kind of what the biggest potential changes on the table, and we can start based off of putting in perspective what's going to really impact people's wallets. So walk us through what the discussion was tonight.
Yeah, so we actually, we previously had reported on this back in May when we knew that this was going to be coming down the pipeline and it's finally here. We're talking about a rate increase. So what that is basically LG&E put in an application to raise their rates, and they had said it's for, maintaining their services. They say it's for technology improvements, safety, aging infrastructure, all of those things. But again, the folks of you at home, you guys want to know how much that's ultimately going to cost you. So LG&E electric customers, you're going to expect, if this is passed, because this is not a set in stone just yet, you can expect, if you're an LG&E electric provider, $11.04 a month increase. Natural gas, $11.12 per month. And for KU Electric, that's actually going to be $18.15 per month. So just a little bit more on the bills there, Jose. I'm an LG&E customer as well. And I was just actually looking today. I'm like, hey, I'm glad I did the story, reminded me to pay my bill. But at the same time, I'm thinking, okay, that's just another thing that I have to plan for if this ends up getting passed.
And so walk us through kind of in the I guess we'll say the timeline of the reporting for this calendar year, Logan, of 2025. I can think back to, something we've stayed on top of because it's a story that changes, in the short, the mid, and the long term. But I know this is something you've previously, looked into in the context of what kind of percent rate increases it is over time. If you're hearing, because you spent some time talking today, obviously touching on the points that the utilities are trying to make for the sake of their investment or, maintaining their operation. And then the counter perhaps to that for some folks who want to make sure for what they're paying, they are getting their money's worth when it comes to their natural gas and their electricity, of course.
Yeah. So, we've talked a lot about data centers, and that's one key thing that has come up time and time again is, obviously the environmental impacts of these things. But the other side of that is what that's going to do to the grid. Is that going to increase the overall electric pool and therefore everyone else's utility rates? So one thing that we had reported on earlier was that rates would potentially go up. This is the first time in 5 years that LG&E has made such a request. But we got a little more detail from LG&E tonight. They handed me some information. I was able to talk with their director of communications. And the one thing in here that really struck me as something that kind of ties into that previous coverage on the data centers is this new rate for the largest customers that LG&E and KU have. They're actually calling it the extremely high load factor service. So what that is it's going to apply to customers who need large amount of powers. And again, that can stretch, a wide range of areas. But I did ask point blank, I said, would that eventually include data centers? And I was told, yeah, data centers would be likely in that extremely high load factor service. So what that would do is it would do two things. One, those customers are going to have to sign 15-year contracts with LG&E. So They will be signing, for a decade and a half of having this service. And in that contract, they commit to paying at least, again, they can pay more, but at least 80% of the power that they reserve. So what that ends up doing is it makes sure that the data centers are paying their fair share in what they pull from the grid, which was a complaint that we heard across the board when we've been covering these data centers, is what is the cost to public utility? And in this application for the rates to go up, they add that provision where extremely high load, literally in the name, would be paying at least 80%. So part of that is, again, just to make sure that all the players that are involved are paying their fair share.
So you walk us through all of that, Logan, and you understand I guess the nature of the response, where you have just where the technology is headed in the case of this demand for data centers, but it's not necessarily just tied to the story of LG&E or KU, simply because I don't know, you've also been on top of, you can find all of this, by the way, guys, on wave3.com, and it's Logan and the rest of the team. I say in the context of how these are proposals that are becoming more and more often. We've seen what the response was in Oldham County. We're seeing similar kind of proposals further in Eastern Kentucky. You could argue that there are those perspectives that do see this as a potential boon in some kind of business and the investment that brings. But you also have reported on the contrasting backlash to it. And I don't know if, for example, in a conversation where you're just talking about blanket rate increases in general for the average person, for the average Joe and Jane, if again, this is something when you have a commission meeting available for the public, some folks are probably not going to be happy in general just at the idea that you're going to raise my rates, because bills, they can add up.
Yeah. And that was like the main comment I'd say that I heard tonight was, look, for folks who are on a fixed income, for folks who may be struggling or just hit a hard patch. That happens to everybody, right? $11 a month, say if you're an LG&E electric, that would be the smallest of the increases that were proposed. That could add up. That's upwards of, it's $100 a year. And then if you are a LG&E and gas customer, I have it here, $265.92 a year. Again, to hopefully, the average consumer, they look at that and they don't have to worry. But there are people out there where $11 a month, $12 a month
on a tight budget,
18, 15, when you're pinching pennies, yeah, $18, $11 matters. So that was the one thing that came up, is that, you have people that are struggling, and the revenues actually for LG&E would increase by about a similar percentage. I apologize, folks. I'd have to go check the numbers. I got a lot of numbers that I wrote down tonight, but the revenues would increase for LG&E, the revenues, not, and so the concern from some of the people were, hey, can we bring those revenues to, do those improvements, or, those record profits that kept getting brought up? Why does this fall in the back of ratepayers was a big question. And ultimately, what we're told by LG&E is this is finding a balance between how do they make sure that they can keep longevity moving forward, keeping the service going forward, improving the service for the rate providers, while also not putting a burden on their households. And that's why the rate increases are what they are. It's why we're told they haven't done them in 5 years. But at the end of the day, yes, at some point, there is a point in the, somewhere where someone's going to say, hey, this is a tight budget for me. This hurts my wallet.
And to that, when you're there and listening to the commission members kind of getting this feedback, I guess you walked away with a sense of, if they didn't make the final decision, or whatever was on the table, is there something they still need to approve down the road? Do they have a deadline for if and when they do have to say yes to all these proposals from LG&E and KU?
Yes. So in March, late March next year is at the very latest when, by state law, they have to have something decided on whether these rates can go into effect.
And so it would be a yes, you can raise them, or no, you have to maintain what the current rate is.
I believe it would be a yes, this goes into effect.
Yes, this goes into effect.
And then at some point, we'd probably get a more specific date from LG&E on when exactly these go into effect. I know how this goes, how these hearings proceed, because this is a legal proceeding is really what it is, folks, is that what you'll see tonight. Basically, yeah, nothing goes into effect. No new rates can go into effect until at the very earliest January 1st of next year. So Jan 1, 2026 is the earliest this can go into effect. But these could go, as long as until the end of March, really, is when we could, at the very latest, we would see the commission have to make the decision. And now I also want to touch on a point that you made. The commission, they don't say much during these hearings. There are 3 more. I'll get you guys the dates on Wave News at 11, folks. But they're there to listen, to observe. And then there will be public hearings in Frankfurt that you can attend if you are able to make those. Those are for them to bring all the public comment that they get, because the one that happened tonight was in Jefferson County. Yes, there's others. I think one's going to happen in Lexington, and then there's one in Eastern Kentucky. So, the lawmakers, the PSC, they want to make sure that they get everybody involved. So there's going to be more meetings. However, the hearings in Frankfurt that will ultimately be when this gets decided will be later on in the process. But again, they have to have a decision no later than the end, I believe the end of March, if not late March 2026.
All right. Before I let you go, Logan, and by the way, you can catch, the report where he's gonna break down not just the context, but the implication for you folks at home, because for as much as, we do touch on these broader issues of energy consumption and, what that means in a business investment context, but also talking about, for you at home, you want to be mindful and or aware of how you have to adjust your own numbers in your own bank accounts and budgets. There was a term, Logan, that for anyone who might be reading this, and you're going to publish the article, of course, online, but just to make sure we don't, or folks don't get as confused as it might seem at first glance, because you see the word tariff rates pertaining to energy bill discussion. And it's not, and it has nothing to do with the national conversations and reporting over federal government policy on tariffs and those taxes. This is something else pertaining simply to just those rates. They do matter to folks, but it's a different use of the word.
Yes. So if you have seen out there at all that this was a tariff increase, it's not related to international tariffs of any sort. That is just a tariff has a lot of meetings, is what I was told. And this has nothing to do with, say, the tariff on goods coming from China, the tariff on goods coming from Canada, things like that. That is just a term that they use. It's a legal term. It does not apply. They are not one and the same thing. So essentially, if you are at home, if you're watching us right now, first of all, thank you. And second of all, just understand that really what this means is the rate that you're going to pay is going to increase. And again, that's just something that is it's a term. I wouldn't look too much into it. There's no connection between tariffs overseas and your rate going up for LG&E.
Right. So LG&E is not having a discussion with the administration about those prices.
So. As far as I know, they're not.
Anything else on your mind as we make sure to invite folks into Wave News at 11, Logan, to watch your full report?
Yeah. So again, there's a lot of numbers here, and Jose kind of just touched on this already. Make sure that, as you're watching our reports, that you are keeping in mind that, again, the averages that we put out there, the numbers that we put out, that's the average. So that $11.04 a month, that's the average LG&E electric user. So for me, I'm in my little dinky apartment. I just paid my bill for $66.
Well, you're a single man. If you're not thinking about having to, keep a couple rooms warm, if you have, kids in the house or just several renters or tenants involved.
Yes. So like it's just me in my apartment. I paid $66 last month. I wouldn't expect my bill to jump $11, right? I would maybe see some sort of increase. Yes. Cause again, that's ultimately what this would do if it gets approved. But yes, so you have to keep in mind $11 for gas, 11 for electric, and then for KU, 18 for electric. Those are just the averages. So it's going to vary. So say you're someone with a beautiful mansion on a nice property and you have a family of 5 plus your in-laws in the suite. Your bill's going to be more than $18 more a month. So you got to take the numbers and understand that is what the average customer is going to be paying. At the end of the day,
it'd be very interesting to see what the median would be, but you have to take the different extremes on the low and the high end that comes out to the average that we at least are able to find this estimate. And it's an estimate based on just whatever metrics are available. But and again, to your point, it's not the median, it's the average.
They actually say requests for adjustments to base rates are calculated based on a defined period of time called a test period. This requirement, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. So again,
it doesn't further define what that test period is. Because imagine if that was the rates run in December
You didn't
when
let
it
me
gets
finish, actually. In this case, it's a forecasted test period for calendar year 2026 only. So
okay.
they are
Ahead of
doing the
myself.
average for what they expect people to be paying in 2026. That's where they get these rate increases. But again, folks, I'm just telling you right now, you got to keep in mind that at the end of the day, your bill will look different than your neighbor's, most likely. Again, maybe similar. I don't know. Depends who your neighbor is. If your neighbor lives in a big mansion and you live in a shack, I'm sorry, you're probably going to pay more if you live in the mansion. So again, keep in mind when we're talking about these numbers, they're averages. So if your bill goes up more than $11, it's because you use more electricity.
It corresponds to usage.
Corresponds to usage, folks. Thank you. We could have just said that. Would have made it way
I
easier.
know. And just, you're just getting to the point across. No, it's okay.
Yes.
All right. Logan, always appreciate you coming by the desk. Again, I repeat, Logan's going to have, much more fleshed out. So the numbers make sense. A reminder of what the numbers mean in context for you, because what you're paying per month matters. And even if the decision wasn't finalized, because there's still time for the commission to come to that decision, and knowing if you if you did want to share your opinion, whether that's pro the rate increase or anti-rate increase for those dates are coming up,
or just thoughts on what you need.
Right.
I'll actually have an email for you folks online on air tonight. You'll see it as well, but online in the article, please check it out, folks. There will be an email for you to go directly to the Public Service Commission to give your thoughts and comments.
Excellent, Logan. Appreciate it. We're going to switch to this sunset view from our Jeffersonville Skytrack cam, enjoying the pretty colors. As you know, we're not quite yet done with summer, Logan, but we're getting there. We're about those 2 weeks away until September 21st. A reminder, as we're talking, temperatures, cloudless skies, what's in store for us the rest of the week. After Logan, we're probably going to touch in with Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett and the storm tracking team. So lots to get to through the evening and later on into tonight. So we're going to take a quick break to reset, be back with more of today's top stories on Wave Extra. All right, everyone, welcome back in. Here we are with that next look, or the latest look, with bridge lights shining, looking at the skyline from our SkyTrack network across the river, the Ohio River, out in Jeffersonville. A great way to unwind as we kind of draw the curtains on our Monday. Appreciate you joining us in the Wave Now studio, Jose Susaya. If you started the hour with us, of course, our reporter Logan Perone walking us through what his report is going to be tonight on proposed utility bill increases for Kentucky, LG&E, and KU customers. That's going to be much more fleshed out for you tonight at 11. But of course, let's dive into some of the day's top stories. And again, some startling investigations. One of those, we can start with an arson. This is what looks like, from investigators, a deadly arson investigation questions of domestic violence. We do know a man died Sunday in this house fire. A woman was so badly hurt as the investigation was starting underway for firefighters and police. Our reporting team spent some time today in the neighborhood in Hollyville hearing from residents about what they think happened. And so if I can play some of that video for you here to put you in the scene for where it happened. Okay, we'll set that up on my computer. And just to get a sense of what the investigation was looking like a little earlier today. So the day after the Sunday fire, bringing a lot of questions, arson investigators saying, though, they do believe the fire was deliberately set. Louisville Fire having some help from LMPD's domestic violence unit. So this was a house at a family of four on June Drive Sunday. Neighbors telling our David Mattingly earlier today, a mother, a father, and two children all got out safely, but another couple inside the house did not make it out. One neighbor, a resident, said that she saw police with rifles and handguns even pointing their weapons at the backyard. And another resident telling our David Mattingly how she watched as firefighters were trying to attempt a rescue.
I saw them get a ladder and go up to the window, so I assumed it was all in the top floor of the house. I saw them remove the woman and the man. They were doing rapid chest compressions on the man.
Now, in front of me right now, just confirming that information on the man and the woman who were hurt. Perhaps, those updates, our digital team on the wave3.com website, they update that information as quickly as they can. And we did get a release relatively soon, or I should say relatively recently, to our inbox on our website from investigators. Now, whether or not they're going to flesh out a little bit more of why the domestic violence unit was brought in to help in the case is something we're going to keep looking into. And that might be something I'll refresh and double check with you all on the website, perhaps even discussing why the fire was deliberately set, as arson investigators put it. We are waiting for those answers, or more of those answers, hoping to see what that all entails. This was a bit of breaking news at around 6 o'clock. And so we're just learning, trying to get more of these details and just reminding you of what we've learned so far on this Monday. This is from Shelbyville, where police say they did arrest 3 people connected to a homicide investigation from last month. This was around August 20th. Officers back then found Tim Ethington, 54-year-old Tim Ethington, dead inside a home in the Spring Oak Estates neighborhood. We don't have details about how Ethington died, at least not released while the investigation is still ongoing, but we do now have names and locations of where 3 suspects were arrested. 23-year-old Jeremiah James from Louisville and 21-year-old Madison Greenwell both of them were arrested in Mount Juliet, Tennessee. And then a third suspect, 21-year-old Rodney Isgrigg, that's how it's spelled, Isgrigg, of Jeffersonville, arrested here in Louisville. And all 3 apparently now facing murder charges, currently awaiting to be extradited to Shelby County. And so that there you have the latest information there. And we'll follow this case along, and hopefully once the day is moving forward tomorrow to reach out to Shelby County prosecutors or investigators and see what more they can tell us as they're building their case. In another troubling, disturbing, awful, revelation that police confirmed, tonight we're hearing from a family of a 5-year-old boy. Metro Police say they accusing a man of killing his own son. Police saying 24-year-old LaRon Gardner assaulted the boy before he was pushed down the stairs. This was part of our conversation our Fernando Garcia Francischini today had with the boy's mother and grandmother. Fernando finding out that the family never imagined something like this would happen. Just something that was, shocking to say the least. Eli Rain's mother, grandma, saying they're still trying to make sense of what happened. They're learning a lot of details, though, from the younger sister, who police even confirmed witnessed what happened, and who police say she was also kicked in the chest by her own father. The relatives saying the little boy, Eli, was very protective of his younger sister, only a year apart. That they believe this assault last Tuesday on Conestoga Avenue started because Eli stood up to both of their fathers after he hurt the little girl. And while they say they didn't see this coming, the family the family did talk a little bit about sort of what the boy's father would do.
There's no reason it should have happened in the first place, but there's literally no reason that Eli could have ever made anybody that mad.
Nope, it didn't happen. He didn't. He didn't. He made you smile. That kid could walk in a room and make everybody smile.
And he was so funny.
So again, Gardner, charged with murder and child abuse, being held on $1 million bond, is expected back in court sometime next week. The family trying to gather as much, as many donations and financial support as they can to help pay for little Eli's funeral arrangements. That is information and more on the case we do have on our story on wave3.com. Another update for you all tonight. Louisville Metro Police say they're looking for a hit-and-run driver who they believe killed or was responsible for killing a motorcycle passenger in a crash. This is just the latest information and a reminder of what this case is about. The crash happened around 9:15 on Friday night. This was on Westport Road at the Snyder Freeway. Police saying the driver of a Ford F-150 pickup turned left in front of a motorcycle driver, could not avoid the crash. The motorcycles could not. And the pickup driver simply just drove away, did not stay at the scene where this happened. Both the motorcycle driver and the passenger behind were hurt, but unfortunately, in the end, police are saying that the passenger with the motorcyclist died Sunday afternoon. We don't know their names yet. That hasn't been released. Investigators, again, still looking for whoever this pickup driver might be. If you saw what happened or might know something that could help police, LMPD is asking you to give them a call. So something that we'll certainly keep on top of tonight. And with as we step into this next story, a bit of context as I'm going to play it, and then we're going to reset for more stories. Basically, the ultimatum as set by the court is these defendants would have no jail time, but only if they do not violate their probation. This is what an Indiana court said today after police brought a case forth for prosecutors that a Charlestown couple was running an unlicensed massage parlor with a hidden camera. We were inside of the courtroom today and got even more disturbing information from prosecutors as they laid out these allegations of the evidence of their crimes, including what police say is video evidence that they collected of clients undressing. And this is part of what our Wave News anchor, Brian Schlonsky, was able to put together as far as an update on this.
The outside decorated for Halloween to look like a house of horrors. But Charlestown police say the frights were actually happening inside. Danger, keep out. Several victims probably wish they had.
Is it true that in Clark County, state of Indiana, that you did peep without consent of GN into an area where an occupant could be reasonably expected to disrobe?
Yes.
Specifically a massage room at a residence in Charlestown, Indiana?
Yes.
Monday, Bernard Allen Vlach and his wife, Cynthia Lynn Vlach, pleaded guilty to several counts, detectives say related to them running an illegal massage parlor out of their southern Indiana home from October of 2023 to July of 2024. The problem, detectives say, Cynthia isn't a massage therapist, not licensed anyway.
Did you knowingly engage in massage therapy for compensation without a license?
Yes.
And in the room?
And that was committed by means of a camera, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Court documents tell that part of the story. A woman was there to get a massage, but while undressing, tells police she noticed a camera on the top shelf of the massage room that was hidden behind a wicker basket. Here's the view from that camera, police say, from a screen grab. When detectives come to investigate, court documents say Bernard says, quote, "I know why you're here. You're probably here for that camera." According to court documents, forensic evidence found more than 1,000 videos recorded in the Vlach's massage room at 882 High Street. Police say in many of the videos, people were nude, and in some, Cynthia could be seen performing sex acts on the men and women.
Well, it looks like you would be pleading guilty to counts 1 and counts 2, voyeurism, both level 6 felonies, but entered as class A misdemeanors.
Monday, an admission of guilt and off to probation for the husband and wife. No more massages allowed in the spooky house.
Are guilty or not guilty?
Guilty.
Our thanks to our Brian Schlonsky for that update. Under the Vlatch's plea agreement, sentenced to 360 days in prison, but that time was fully suspended. That means it's on hold. They'll serve no time again unless they violate their probation. More stories ahead as we're hitting 8:35. We're going to take a quick reset, bring you more of Monday's top stories right here on Wave News Extra. All right, everyone, welcome back into the Wave Now studio. Here we are, 8:37, going through more of today's top stories. One of them being something we had our eye on as the evening was progressing, and this was a chance for folks who enjoy spending time along the river, downtown Louisville, and what's been a pretty well-known meeting place, but a lot of neighbors would argue would require this kind of investment to modernize and bring back up. Is an opportunity for folks tonight, and we were there to listen, to share their thoughts on a project to redesign this well-known spot called the Belvedere. And so again, just to put you in place of where this is happening, or at least the idea of this proposal in the project, it's the first of several public meetings to decide the Belvedere's future. This one that we were at was at the Iroquois Library, a nearly 7-acre plot, been around since the 70s, hosting everything from festivals and concerts to yoga classes. Tonight's meeting will center around the kinds of activities, though, that people who show up say they would like to see. Part of that commentary coming from the executive director here, Layla George, in anticipation of what they're hoping is the feedback they get from those neighbors who come to this latest meeting.
I've done a lot of travel. I've done a lot of research. I've seen what has been really successful in other cities, but all communities are different and unique and have different wants and needs and desires for their community spaces.
Now, whatever those new renderings look like will be interesting to see once we're able to get a copy, and probably have shared that with you tonight on Wave News at 11. Those were the initial renderings we did get for a much grander, more ambitious project. If anything has changed, and also based on the feedback they do get from neighbors about the use of the space they'd like, will be interesting to share that with you as that develops and changes over time. Even before it gets to something that is, the full artistic representation of this upgrade, we know infrastructure repairs have to happen. It's a major focus of the project, on top of repairs that have to happen to the parking garage, but just would take on a massive scale of upgrades and infrastructure repairs for whatever the new Belvedere is going to look like. More stories tonight. Metro leaders we were able to catch at Simmons College of Kentucky earlier today. They were celebrating the start of HBCU week. And you see some of the celebration materials we do have there. Simmons Recognized as Louisville's only HBCU proper, the weekend is celebrated across the country for historically Black colleges and universities, recognizing the impact they all respectively made in their communities. Today, students and faculty at a ceremony echoed the same message, talking about celebrating their college's histories. Simmons leaders also talked about the kind of impact they're seeing and they want to have locally in Louisville.
We do receive some grants and some federal grant funding, and so we've had to really take a look at the language that we are including in those grant agreements along with everyone else. But I will say, as a private HBCU, we do have the liberty to celebrate and recognize our students, continue to provide the amenities without the restrictions that some of our private brothers and sisters are experiencing.
Simmons recently received a donation from the Christ of King Parish. It's property from the Archdiocese of Louisville. Donation leaders say will be an investment for the West Louisville community. What they decide to do with that will be an interesting development as that unfolds. And wanted to share the latest troubleshooters investigation with you tonight. They're always looking into uncovering what oftentimes is some people doing shady things, trying to take advantage of others. It's not different at all in this case, but just involving the fine arts. That being, as our Mark Stevens discovered, a man from Nigeria, the Broadway show Wicked, and the Kentucky Performing Arts. So those are the three linchpin sort of factors for you to tune into. And it's not the start of a bad joke. It is the beginning of the federal court case that our Mark Stevens looked into and wanted to show us how everything is all connected.
In any good play, a villain is undone by a weakness. The weakness in our story appears to be a phone number. That's how FBI Louisville's cyber squad arrested a Nigerian man with an Irish passport as he entered the country in August. Prosecutors charged Ajibola Oduntan with wire fraud for ripping off the Kentucky Performing Arts Center for $100,000. In their detailed criminal complaint, the FBI says Oduntan used several email addresses with stolen credit card numbers to buy Wicked tickets during its run in Louisville in 2023. Then he listed and resold the tickets on StubHub, converting them into cash while the Kentucky Performing Arts Center ate the losses, as credit card companies demanded refunds when the fraudulent purchases were discovered. Many of those credit card chargebacks occurred after the show ran, preventing the KPA from reselling the seat. FBI agents connected Oduntan's phone number on his StubHub with the phone number he used to apply for a visa waiver to travel to the U.S., perhaps to spend $350,000 he transferred from his StubHub to PayPal account over 18 months. Investigators say just one of the email addresses connected to Oduntan bought and resold 61 tickets. A co-conspirator bought and resold 77 tickets. Oduntan is in jail awaiting trial in November. He's pleaded not guilty.
Now, Mark Stevens also did reach out to Oduntan's lawyer in New Jersey. They did not return troubleshooters' phone call. Kentucky Performing Arts also declined to talk to troubleshooters, simply saying, though, that the investigation is ongoing. I'm going to reset for more stories as we round out this hour on our Monday evening. We're going to be back with much more on tonight's Wave Extra. Here we are, folks, 8:45 and a dark nighttime sky with the city lights shining bright from across the river for our Jeffersonville SkyTrack camera. I've been enjoying the nice temperature, 73 degrees. As a reminder, the storm tracking team going to break down what's in store for us, not just tomorrow, but for the week ahead, inching closer and closer out of summer into the fall. Chief Meteorologist Kevin Harnett and the storm tracking team going to be there for us if you join us tonight on Wave News at 11. Being the nighttime sky, I wanted to see if it reflected perhaps a little bit more. So we'll try a different angle so you can see the nighttime skyline with our studio graphics here as we're trying a couple different things. Stepping into some more stories as we round out the evening, we're going to go to Greenwood, Indiana. Set up the video here. Yes, take you to Greenwood, Indiana. A group of protesters outside of a lawmaker's office upset with the Trump administration's plan to house people detained by ICE at Camp Atterbury. The group demonstrating outside Jefferson Shreve's office on Sunday. This was to call on Congress to use tax dollars for other purposes, including the housing crisis. In July, federal leaders talked about how Camp Atterbury would be used by ICE to house undocumented migrants who would have been detained.
We want to see that money used to address the housing crisis in our community, to address homelessness, to address the fact that people can't afford their rent.
We're at least here trying to spread a message of compassion, letting the people in Johnson County know what's happening.
We want to love everybody and we want to embrace the inclusion of all people. So I want to stand for that.
Now, in a response regarding the protest, Jefferson Shreve saying that, quote, he's working in Congress to prioritize Hoosier workers ahead of the undocumented immigrants. And Shreve going on to say that he's delivering on what the majority of his constituents, as he put it, tell him that they want: a secure border, tax relief, and a lower cost of living. Something we're looking forward to, maybe I'll push ahead to this when I bring you to the website on wave3.com about Butchertown Pottery Store wanting your help finding two men who they say vandalized a Gallapalooza horse right outside of their respective store. And I'm just going to bring it up here on my other screen to see if I can get that information, at least to cover it. Hadley Pottery talking about a post on their Facebook earlier today. Their beloved Hadley Blue was vandalized. Anyone who recognizes two men, who we do have that image up on the website, wave3.com, they are asking you to contact the pottery shop in the hopes that they can catch whoever was responsible for this. All right, bringing up this graphic here. If you're already looking ahead to the weekend, even though we're on a Monday, but just maybe wanted to add some of those plans for this coming Saturday. That is when the Algonquin Park Jazz Festival is going to happen. Wave's very own Dawn G, by the way. Dawn is going to co-host this year's festival from noon to 7 in Algonquin Park, completely free to come by. It's about jazz music, gospel music, line dancing, much more. This is the festival's second year. The Metro Council person, as far as involved in it, representing her constituents, is Councilwoman Tammy Hawkins, that this Saturday's party would be, quote, bigger and better than last year's. So something to add to the calendar if that's what you were interested in looking ahead. Okay, happening right now, Louisville Metro Housing Authority maintenance workers are trying to negotiate a new contract as far as their union is concerned. It's been 5 years, though, since they've come back to the negotiating table. Wave News reporter Kirsten Foote wanted to look into this update and what union members say they're hoping for. Some new concessions are involved.
These housing workers with the union 32BJ SEIU have a tight deadline coming up as their current 5-year contract expires on September 22nd. On Monday, they began negotiations with Louisville Metro Housing Authority, where they say they have several priorities that they'd like to see addressed in this new contract.
We fight We win. When we fight, we win. 32 BJ. 32 BJ.
The union, which covers more than 100 LMHA workers who take on the daily upkeep of metro housing units, says one of their biggest goals is to end the outsourcing of their work to private firms. The union says that's an issue that popped up in this latest contract. According to the union, in 2022, the Housing Authority ended one of their contracts with the private firms, but union members say they want to see it end altogether. One of LMHA's residents, Angela Thornton, came down to Monday's rally to support her maintenance workers turned friends, whose help even went beyond daily upkeep of her apartment.
I support good workers. I'm handicapped. They found me a nice handicap apartment up there. I was living up on the second floor. I had no business being up on the second floor. I want to stand up for he knows he does a good job.
Union workers are also hoping to secure favorable health care. Ronnie Holcomb says he's been with LMHA for about 6 years. He says he's opted not to have health insurance right now because of the current plan they're on. Despite other maintenance jobs offering what he calls better insurance, he says he wants to stick around for the long haul.
I love my union brothers. I like the job. I love my city. I grew up in the West End. I was on Section 8 as a child. Like, I understand the struggles that we all have. And again, it's just something I can go home to every night knowing I did a good job. I made a difference in the city that I love.
The current union contract is set to expire on Monday, September 22nd, and union workers say that they're expecting a vote on September 17th. When asked what they might do if that vote doesn't pan out, union workers say they'll have to wait and see. Reporting in downtown Louisville, Kirsten Foote, Wave News.
Now, we also did get a response from LMHA on the ongoing negotiations. I want to read you part of this off of my screen here saying, quote, that the agency, the authority, is proud to offer competitive salaries and excellent benefits to all our employees, including maintenance staff. We also acknowledge, quote, that maintaining safe, decent, and affordable housing may at times require additional support from outside contractors. We welcome the union's partnership as we work to strengthen our workforce and recruit new employees. All right, this was a huge story as we moved through the weekend that a few lucky individuals are starting off their work week tonight a whole lot richer. 2 winning tickets for that nearly $2 billion Powerball jackpot sold over the weekend. One in Missouri, another at this gas station in Fredericksburg, Texas. See the Texas Lottery logo right there. Powerball executives saying the 2 winners will share the second largest jackpot ever of $1.78 billion. Now, on top of those big jackpot winners, there were some other lucky ticket buyers who won $2 million each. 18 more folks from across a dozen states walking away with $1 million each, and several Kentuckians apparently also won a little bit of cash with Powerball prizes from $50,000 up to $1 million. If you were curious about if you haven't been able to check your ticket numbers to see if you were among the lucky few to gain some of the cash, you can check out our story on our website, wave3.com, just as a reminder of what those numbers would be. And we're going to wrap up tonight with a story. This might have also hit your social media pages and your timeline, something that has definitely gotten a lot of attention, perhaps some passionate discussion, offering different perspectives, but it has to do with sports. If you happen to catch a glimpse of sort of what happened at a moment in a Friday Phillies and Marlins game down in Miami, a father says, or, father in the aftermath of a home run being hit, the bounces happening because they'll bounce and clatter off the chairs. Father trying to give his son a home run ball, but there's a woman who confronted the man claiming the ball was hers, demanding that he hand it back over to her. Needless to say, you could guess if that's something you've been online to discuss, generating some solid, strong opinions one way or the other. But reporter Brian Sheehan was able to talk and find the father and the son who were there for the game and then get their take on what the now viral interaction means to them.
Drew Feltwell describing the now viral and highly unusual situation he and his family found themselves in Friday night. It all started when Phillies player Harrison Bader hit a solo home run ball in the 4th inning during the game in Miami against the Marlins.
And I walked down a couple seats and it fell and kind of bobbled between the 2 armrests. And I picked it up. And as I was pulling away, 2 other hands came. And I mean, I didn't really care at that point. I just walked away and held the ball up high and put it in Lincoln's glove.
The South Jersey native telling NBC 10 in this exclusive interview that he felt like super dad after he got the ball. He took his family to that particular game, hoping to catch a home run ball for his son Lincoln's birthday this week.
I thought I had accomplished this great thing, and putting it in his glove meant a lot.
NBC Sports Philadelphia cameras capturing it all and airing it on live TV. But the heartwarming moment was very short-lived because just as Drew embraces Lincoln, a woman in Phillies gear runs up to them and puts her hand on Drew's arm, startling him.
Yeah, and then she's like, "That's my ball. You stole it out of those are from our seats." I said, "There was nobody in that seat." She said, "That's from where we were sitting." And she just went on and on.
The two go back and forth before Drew eventually decides to take the ball out of his son's glove and give it to the woman, who takes it with her to her seat the next section over.
The boos started, and they were very intense. Once it got going, you could feel the depth of how many boos from the stadium.
I wasn't very happy that we had to give it to her, but we can't win. She was gonna get it anyways.
The incident quickly went viral and was the topic of conversation on social media over the weekend.
Every moment around my kids is a potential teaching moment. So I try to keep that mentality, and I guess it shined through.
This dad says despite everything that happened, the night was still a success and ended with an opportunity of a lifetime, a chance to meet Harrison Bader, who gave Lincoln a signed bat.
It was very, very fun getting to meet Bader.
It worked out. We got a signed bat and quite a bit of attention and a lot of funny memes and internet stuff. Pretty crazy.
So reporter Brian Sheehan there with that conversation with the family of the viral moment now all over social media. The Feltwells, again, telling reporters, at least in this conversation, they did not know the woman who approached Drew. They're not expecting to hear back from her if whatever that interaction would be. A lot of different outlets in this case, Brian Sheehan and his crew at a sister station with NBC trying to reach out to the woman, give her an opportunity to share her side of what happened. That has not been a successful communication establishment yet. Her identity, at least to the reporters at the time, has remained a mystery. What's come of hopefully some folks not going too far into the extreme to share what would be the most sensitive information for the woman. But needless to say, leave it to the internet to generate all kinds of conversation about what happened. As a reminder, for the stories that are actually in our own backyard, and you could see kind of, the interesting big headlines, our troubleshooters updates reports there, what happened with that Charlestown couple and the plea, or at least the probation that they were given for the massage parlor cameras. All these different updates right there for you on the homepage of wave3.com. It is 8:58. Reminder, we're always here tuning in or getting ready to start at 8:05 Mondays through Fridays. Always appreciate you joining us, whether that's through the Wave Now apps on your smart TVs or right here on our streams through Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and X. Always appreciate your time as we go through the big stories of the day. And if our night side team is also looking at some of these stories, to remind you that we will be here for breaking news and anything that goes on for Wave News at 11. I'm Jose Sosaya. Appreciate your time. We'll see you here tomorrow.